In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I would like to greet you all with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. How y'all feel tonight? All praise is due to Allah. Brothers and sisters, tonight we want to deal with a very critical subject in the black community. You may have heard that tonight we're dealing with Malcolm X Reloaded. Who really assassinated Malcolm X? Now, before we begin to get into the assassination of our brother, we want to ask some questions. And when you deal with the assassination of Malcolm X, or the assassination of others, but in particular Malcolm X, you have to ask some critical questions because there are a lot of rumors that are out there surrounding who really murdered Malcolm X. There's a lot of emotion, as we already know. When anyone dies, there's a lot of emotion surrounding that. But there's a lot of emotion surrounding the life and death of Malcolm X. So let's ask some questions just to get us to thinking. Are y'all ready? Malcolm X Reloaded. Who really assassinated Malcolm X? The first question we want to ask is, what was the lifestyle that Malcolm X lived before he came in contact with the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad? That's a good question, right? Okay. We want to know, as many people say, was the honorable Elijah Muhammad jealous of Malcolm X? Even though Malcolm X was a student of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Did Elijah Muhammad order the FOI to go and assassinate Malcolm X? Did he order that? Was Elijah Muhammad jealous of Malcolm because Malcolm was getting all the fame? Malcolm X was getting all of the notoriety. You've heard these things before, right? We're dealing with all of it tonight. Did Malcolm X change when he traveled to Mecca and saw white Muslims? Did he all of a sudden realize that he had been lied to by the honorable Elijah Muhammad? Did he change? Did the Orthodox Muslims who claim Malcolm X, are they doing the work that Malcolm X did when he was alive? That's an easy question, because most of us grew up in the black community, and there's never been a time where any Arabs came to teach us about Islam, right or wrong. The Arabs never knocked on your door and invited you to come to the mosque with them, to come to Jummah prayer with them. But they claim Malcolm today, but are they doing the work that Malcolm did when Malcolm was present? Are these good questions? Because when you go to the Arab store, they'll sell you pig feet, right? They'll sell you pork skins, right? They'll sell you alcohol. They'll sell you beer. But they won't invite you to Islam. But they claim that they're with Malcolm X. You follow what I'm saying? Let's see. Do they go after the hustlers, the pimps, the drug dealers, and users? I'm talking about the Arabs who claim Malcolm X. Where are the followers of Malcolm X in 2005? Where are they? Now, if Elijah Muhammad made Malcolm X who and what he was, is it possible that he could make another one just like him, or even greater? Is that possible? Or was that just happenstance? Is Elijah Muhammad the messenger of Almighty God Allah? These are questions that we need to know the answer to. Because 12 years that Malcolm X was in the Nation of Islam, he believed that the honorable Elijah Muhammad was the messenger of Almighty God. Was Malcolm X a hypocrite? Was Elijah Muhammad a hypocrite? Did he say one thing and do another thing? Are y'all with me? You've heard these things before, right? I'm not saying anything we haven't heard. Okay. Was Malcolm X, who was taught and trained by the honorable Elijah Muhammad, did he become a threat to Elijah Muhammad? And that's why he had to be put out of the nation. Did Malcolm X evolve past the teachings of Elijah Muhammad? This is what you may hear. Now, we also want to know, what is the white man's motive in teaching us about Malcolm X? And if he's teaching us about Malcolm, is he telling us the truth? All we have to do is look at all the other things that we were taught, right? And see, well, did he tell the truth about the Easter Bunny? Did he tell the truth about Santa Claus? Did he tell the truth about the Tooth Fairy? Did he tell the truth about George Washington never telling a lie? Did he tell the truth when he said that we were found in the jungles of Africa with bones in our noses? Was that the truth? So now all of a sudden, if he's telling us about Malcolm, is he telling us the truth? Was the United States government involved in the assassination of Malcolm X? Were Malcolm X's own people involved in his assassination? Was Malcolm X angry, or did he leave the nation because he found out that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad committed adultery? Did that make him say, I'm going to leave the Nation of Islam? Now, we got to think about this for just a minute. We're going to deal with it a little later, but just think about it. Raise your hand if you know who Bill Clinton is. Oh, that's almost everybody in the room. Most black people consider Bill Clinton the first black president. Did Bill Clinton cheat on his wife? Oh, I didn't hear anything. I'm going to ask again. Did Bill Clinton cheat on his wife? Yes, he did, right? It was on the news. They brought the woman out, right? Did anybody stand up and say, I don't want to be an American because I found out Bill Clinton cheated on his wife? Did the Speaker of the House say that? Did the Vice President say that? Did the members of the Congress renounce their citizenship to this nation because they found out that Clinton had an extramarital affair? Did they do that? Oh, I don't think so. They still were Americans, is that right? Now, what about, what's this man's name? Thomas Jefferson. When it came out that he was having sex with his slaves, Sally Hemings, right? Nobody stood up and said, well, I no longer want to be an American. Because one of the founding fathers was having sex with a woman that he owned, right? Y'all with me? Okay. What about George Washington? We're talking about the first president of the United States. This man was the largest slave owner in this country. And you never heard a black person say, I don't want to be an American, because the founding father of this nation was the largest slave owner in the United States. Have you ever heard a black person say that? Okay. I'm just giving us some things that we want to think about. Now, y'all heard of John Kennedy, right? Some of y'all got a picture of John Kennedy at home on your wall. You got John Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and Jesus. But that's really not Jesus. It's really Michelangelo's cousin. John Kennedy, now this is a man that slept around. If you study the history of John Kennedy, the FBI taped him in a relationship with a woman named, let me get her name. I want to give you all facts tonight. That's what we're dealing with, the actual facts of who really assassinated Malcolm X. Can y'all bear with me for 1 minute? I got to put the mic down. Here it is, here it is. Okay, here we are. John Kennedy. The FBI caught him, this is before he became president. He had a relationship with a woman who was one of the good friends of Adolf Hitler. Her name was Inga Arvad. And the FBI taped him in a relationship with this woman. He was a senator at the time. But the FBI agent that was taping him, he didn't say that he didn't want to be an American, because he found out that one of the senators was involved with a woman who the FBI thought was a spy for Russia. When they found out that he was having relations with Marilyn Monroe, this is after he became president, no one said they didn't want to be an American. So we have to think that if Malcolm X says, well, Elijah Muhammad was having these extramarital affairs, and now I no longer want to be a part of the nation, do white people think like that? Because if that was the case, then nobody would be an American. Is that right? Okay. But we're going to deal with that in just a minute. Now, I want to be clear up front that the reason that I became a Muslim, a registered Muslim in the Nation of Islam, is because I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. So I don't want anyone to think that we in the Nation of Islam hate Malcolm X, because we don't hate Malcolm X. We understand that Malcolm X made mistakes, like all of us make mistakes, right? And the reason that God gives us history, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that of all of our studies, history is the most attractive to reward the researcher. Because when you study history, then if you learn from it, you don't make the same mistakes that people that came before you made. Are y'all following what I'm saying? See, the problem with us is we don't study history. So we end up making the same mistakes that our predecessors made. Our parents don't sit down and talk to us about what they experienced in their life. They tell us that you got to learn like I did. Isn't that what they tell you? You got to make the same mistakes I made. Well, if I'm living my whole life making the same mistakes you made, when are we going to start making progress as a people? See, in order to make progress, you must study history. Now, I'm going to give you an example of how history was able to benefit someone. I mean, it benefits all of us, but I'm going to give you this example. There is a man by the name of James Bolger. Y'all got that? His street name is Whitey Bulger, and he was a big mob boss in Boston. There's a book that you can get about his life called Black Mass, and it talks about how his relationship with the FBI allowed him to be the biggest mob boss in all of Boston. But he went to jail as a teenager, right? And as a teenager in jail, he studied the history of all of the generals, all of the mob bosses, all of the leaders that he could find, and he studied their history so that when he got out, he would not make the same mistakes that they made. Now, right now, he's on the FBI's top 10 of the most wanted. All the other mob people, you know, as black people, we look up to all the little gangsters, right? And the little gangsters like Scarface, they didn't like black people. But we'll get a t-shirt with Scarface on the t-shirt, or Al Capone on the t-shirt, or Bugsy Siegel on the t-shirt, or Meyer Lansky on it, and none of them like black people. And this man, he didn't like black people either. But the reason I'm bringing him up is because his study of history allowed him to outsmart the FBI. You follow what I'm saying? And he's the only mob boss that I've heard of that was able to outsmart the government. But how was he able to do it? Through his study of history. Are y'all with me? So when you study history, you learn from the mistakes that people made before us, so we don't make those same mistakes. Well, Malcolm X, he did make some mistakes, and he did a lot of great things too. We can't take that away from him. See, white people, they don't throw their leaders away because their leaders made mistakes. They don't do that, right? In fact, they hide the mistakes of their leaders, don't they? We didn't find out about Kennedy and all that he did until this man was dead. If you get the recent issue of Reader's Digest, Kennedy is on the cover. But does that mean he didn't make any mistakes? That's not what it means. But they judged the man based on the good that he did, right? George Washington was a slave owner. But does that stop them from putting him on a dollar bill? That didn't stop him, did it? Okay, y'all understand the point, right? So now, some of you are saying, well, you know, I like y'all Muslims, but see, my problem is, or the problem with the Muslims is, you know, I can't be following no man. You know? See, y'all believe in Elijah Muhammad, y'all just a bunch of followers, y'all brainwashed, right? That's what they say. Now, let's ask some questions. Who are we really following? Now, you turn on the television and you watch the NBA, right? And you see all these people with tattoos all over their body. Who are they following? I want to know. There was a time where black people didn't get tattoos. But now, we got tattoos on our forehead. Tattoos all over the body. We'll take any questions at the end, brother. Tattoos all over our body, right? Right or wrong? What kind of sense does that make? Now, if I came and put some smooth graffiti on your house, would you be like, oh, man, brother, hook my house up and put some smooth graffiti all over my house? Man, it's tight. Would that impress you? Or would you call the police? You probably would call the police. Well, this is the house of God. Now, we got nose rings, eye rings, earrings all the way around the ear, tongue rings, navel rings, right? Rings in places that I can't say here. But you know what I'm talking about. Am I right or wrong? Who are we following? Now, we got perm, right? Men and women, right? Blue eyes, contacts, blonde hair, extensions, right? Today, we idolize being pimps, right or wrong. Who are we following? We got songs that are just made for pimps, right? I don't know what you heard about me. I can't say the word, but I'm a PIMP, right? We got songs about being hustlers, right? You've heard the song. Okay, y'all looking at me like y'all didn't hear the song. You heard the Cassidy song. I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler, right? Okay. So my point is, you follow somebody. What's your last name? Is it Jones, Johnson, Smith, Washington, Jackson? And many of us are proud of those names. Well, we're following somebody. That's not the name of God. That's the name of the slave master that he imposed on you. Is that right? So now, if you look at it, everywhere in the world, black people are on bottom. Everywhere you go on the planet Earth. What's going to raise black people up to the top? You look at communism. You go to a communist country. The communists appeal to black people, but you go to a communist country, black people are on the bottom. Right? Everywhere in the world. You go to a socialist country, like Libya. There's racism in Libya. It's not as much here. No place matches America. But there's racism there. There's racism in socialist countries, and black people are on the bottom in socialism. You go to the capitalist countries, and black people are where? On the bottom in capitalism. Even though we built America, you drive down Stony Island, and you see people begging on the street, right? Who? Black folks, right? In Christianity, where are black people? Are we on the top, or are we on the bottom? All you got to do is go to the Sistine Chapel. Everything in the Sistine Chapel is white. Angels are white, right? God is white. Adam is white. Jesus is white. Mary is white. Peter is white, right? Who are the leaders of Christianity? Are they black people, or are they white people? Did the church enslave us, or did they help get us free? They enslaved us, is that right? So we're on the bottom in Christianity. You go to Israel, right? We're on the bottom in Judaism. They have black Jews. The original Jews are black people. Right or wrong? The Hebrews are black like us. But you go to Israel, and these are white people from Europe who converted to Judaism. They're running the show. And the black people that have been in Israel from way back in the day, thousands of years, they just been there. They didn't migrate there. They were always there. They're on the bottom in Israel. Blacks are on the bottom in Judaism. Are we on the bottom in politics? Are we on the top, or are we on the bottom? We're on the bottom, is that right? We just protested over the election, right? Because we're on the bottom. Are we on the bottom in Islam? Now I know what some of you are going to say. See, Islam doesn't recognize any color. But in Islam, black people are on the bottom. Not in the nation of Islam, but I'm talking in the Islamic world. Black people are on the bottom. You go to Mecca, there's black people begging in the streets of Mecca. If you go, right? You look at the African nations that are Muslims, right? They get no love from the Arab nations that are also Muslims. Because in Islam, black people are on the bottom. You go to the mosque of Bilal, who is the black man that started the call to prayer. His mosque is like a shack because he's a black man. And the Arabs look down on black people. You go to an Arab store, and they look at you funny. Right or wrong? Okay. Now, what about entertainment? Y'all saw the movie Monsters Ball, right? Y'all saw the scene with Halle Berry and the white man, right? Now, I want you to just ask yourself this question. Do you think that a white director or a black director would put Julia Roberts in a movie and have her with a black man, just a nasty, greasy brother, and he's just banging her all over the place? Do you think that would happen to Julia Roberts? Or are black people on the bottom in Hollywood? But she got an Oscar for that, right? Denzel got an Oscar for what? Training Day, right? He didn't get an Oscar for Malcolm X. He didn't get an Oscar for Hurricane, right? But he got an Oscar for Training Day because they want to tell us what? Black people on the bottom. Well, you may be saying, well, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's where we got to get involved in rap, because in rap music, man, we at the top, man. You know what I'm saying? We running it. Are we really? Have you ever heard of Lyle Cohen before? Have you ever heard of Jimmy Iovine before? They're white men, and they run rap music. And they just have the black people out front. Every week it's another beef. Rapper gets shot, they make millions. Right? Okay. So my point is, black people are on the bottom. Who's going to raise the black man to the top? If you study the life of Malcolm X, where was Malcolm X? Was he on the top or was he on the bottom? What was he doing before he met the most honorable Elijah Muhammad? What was he doing? He was doing like what most of us do, right? We know that he dropped out of school in the 8th grade because his teacher told him that he could never be a lawyer, that he was good with his hands, so he should be a carpenter. So he dropped out of school like some of us, right? Then he turned to a what? He turned to a life of crime. Now Malcolm was a real pimp. See, today we're just fake pimps. We think a pimp is a man that got 3 or 4 girlfriends. That's not a pimp. That's a womanizer. A pimp is a man that owns women and sells those women to other men so they can have sex with them, and then those women bring the money back to the pimp. They get nothing. That's what a pimp is. That's what, and she don't have the money. You already know what happens, right? You've seen enough movies to know that, right? Okay. Now, that's what Malcolm X was. He was a real pimp, selling black women from Harlem to white men so they can have sex with them. He was a robber. He broke in people's houses, sometimes while they were in the house, and robbed them blind. Is that right? He was a stick-up man. He was a numbers runner. Y'all know what a numbers runner is? That's before the mob made gambling legal. They had numbers. You go through the black community and you ask them, well, what's your number, right? And she may say, well, I was born on June 3rd, so my number is going to be 603. Y'all got that? She may say, well, I weigh 125 pounds, so my number is going to be 125, right? He may say, well, I live on 3312 East End, so my number is 3312. And he gets all the numbers and the money, right, from everybody who wants to gamble. Then the mob boss picks a number, and if somebody wins, they get some money. The mob boss gets the rest of the money. Everybody else loses. But now gambling is legal, right? But that's what Malcolm X was. So he was involved in the life of crime. He got arrested, went to jail. What nickname did the people give him in jail? Red. No, that was his street name. Street name was Detroit Red, right? Or Red. He had never heard the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. When he went to jail, the prisoners, the convicts, the rapists, the bank robbers, the murderers, the pedophiles, those are the ones that gave him another nickname. And that nickname was Satan. Is that right? Now you got to be a bad man if you come off the street and you were already bad on the street. Then you go to jail, right? And the murderers, the pimps, the gangbangers, drug dealers, hustlers, rapists, pedophiles, serial killers, y'all got me? They give you the nickname of Satan. You got to be a bad man. See, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings did not convert Detroit Red. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings went into prison and converted who? Converted Satan. And made him a what? Made him a Muslim. Y'all got that? Now, we want to know, was Elijah Muhammad the messenger of God? Because the only way you can properly understand the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is if you understand his relationship to Almighty God Allah. He never said that he was a black leader. Never said that, right? He never said that he was a social reformer. Never said that. He always said that he was what? The messenger of Allah, right? So if he's the messenger of Allah, then you have to judge him by what's in this book, the Holy Quran, and what's in the Bible. So let's see. What does the Holy Quran say? Are y'all with me? Do black people need somebody from God, first of all? Is our condition so bad that we need someone to come from God to heal us? See, as black people, we have collective low self-esteem. We always can believe that God sent somebody to the Jews, right? That God sent somebody to the Asians, right? That God sent someone to the whites and to the Native Americans, but it's hard for us to believe that God sent somebody to us. What does the Holy Quran say? Everybody with me? What does the Holy Quran say? I want you to write that down. 32, verse 3 of the Holy Quran. I'll read it. It says, or do they say he has forged it? Nay, it is the truth from thy Lord, that thou mayest warn a people to whom no warner has come before, that they may walk aright. That's what the Holy Quran says. Have we ever had a messenger or a warner from God? Have we had one? Before the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. But see, we can talk about Moses, right? And Lot, and Abraham, and Noah, and all of these prophets. But if God is a just God, then he should send somebody to us, right? To deliver us from the condition that we're in. The way that you can quickly prove that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is direct from God is by looking at the change that takes place in the lives of the people that follow him. Malcolm X is only one example. This man reformed the lives of millions of people. I know that before I heard the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, I was out of my mind. I had a high top fade. I had dreadlocks on one side, permed on the other side, before I became a Muslim. Y'all with me? I was crazy. I was a swine eater. I was never a womanizer, but, you know, I still wasn't good. You understand what I'm saying? Every other word out of my mouth was a cuss word. Y'all with me? I was not a good brother. And as a young man, you know, as young people, we have a lot of anger. So before I became a Muslim, I was real angry with white people because of what they had done to us. So I got arrested a few times for altercations with white people. But I was on a path of what? A path of destruction. I was not doing anything to help black people. See, if you hate white people, that's not enough. Now, we're not telling you to hate them. All you have to do is study history, and the evil that they've done, the natural reaction to that evil is hatred. We don't have to teach you that. That's just natural. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't use it constructively, it is something wrong with that. See, it's not enough to say you hate white people if you don't love black people. Because hating white people is not going to help black people. See, you have to love black people if you want to help black people. Because we're crazy as hell. I'm talking about black folks. Y'all with me? So if you don't love us, then you won't be patient with us. See, when I was a young man, I didn't care too much for white people, but I didn't love black people. So I was no good to my own people. Y'all follow what I'm saying? So the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad makes us develop a love for our own people. Now, this is a man that can make us throw down the alcohol. Now, when I became a Muslim, I didn't drink or smoke, but my brother did. And I can remember the day I came to his dorm room to tell him about the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Here's a man that was drinking a 40 ounce and smoking a cigarette. I didn't care nothing about that. I'm in his face telling him about the teachings, and he came in the Nation of Islam. Because the power of this teaching gives you the power to throw down the cigarettes, throw down the alcohol. Now, you got to think about it. What can make black people stop eating swine? I haven't eaten swine in 15 years. Right? And I'm a brother who grew up on meat and bread. Never ate vegetables. You give me a plate of vegetables, I'll cuss you out. I'm talking about before I became a Muslim. So now what can make us throw the pig feet down, throw the chitlins down, throw the pork chops down, throw the crispy bacon down? What can make us give it up? What can make us get rid of the women in our lives and be good by the one woman that is in our life? Now I'm going to tell you something about myself when I first became a Muslim. Because see, we make the mistake of thinking that the only person who got changed by the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad was Malcolm X, and that's not true. When I was processing, I wasn't even in the Nation of Islam. I just came to the mosque and said, look, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. And when I finished with that book, I said, look, I want to be a Muslim. And I didn't know anything about Minister Farrakhan or anything. I just know that I wanted to be a Muslim. So I came to college, I met some Muslims, came to the mosque. They could have said anything. I was joining, that's why I came. They could have said the sky's blue, who wants to join? and I would have raised my hand. They could have said, the floor is brown. Who wants to join? I would have raised my hand. Because I came to join. Y'all follow what I'm saying? So now, I came and said, look, I want to be a Muslim. And just so happens in my algebra class, there was a beautiful sister that sat right behind me. And she used to always look at me with the googly eyes. And I looked at her the same way. And next thing you know, we had a little, relationship going on. And I'm still processing to be a Muslim. So one night, I'm in the back of the college campus, just pitch black, dark, in a car, butt naked with a sister. And she's butt naked too. Now, some of y'all are going to get mad at me for what I'm about to tell you. But see, I wanted to be a Muslim more than I wanted to be with a butt naked sister. In the car, windows steamed up. I'm telling you what I went through. And I had to make up my mind, naked in a car. Do I want to be a Muslim follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Or do I want to have sex with this fine, voluptuous black woman? And most people would say, I heard a brother just whisper it. Sex. I heard it. But no, what did I choose? I chose to be a Muslim follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I stopped. I said, I can't do it. Now, y'all are saying that nigga is a punk, because I would have hit it, then just became a Muslim right after that. But the reason I'm bringing it up is to show you the power of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Even some of these sisters are looking at me like, damn, what the hell is wrong with him? I mean, if I was in a situation like that, I know what I would, but I'm just telling you about the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Let's move on. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad did many great things. I'm just going to run through the list real quick because I want to deal with the actual facts of the assassination of Malcolm X. Are y'all ready? He opened up 42 Muhammad University of Islam's independent education for black people. Is that right? He started the Muhammad Speaks newspaper, which sold 1 million copies a issue for black people. Is that right? He opened the first printing press, black-owned and operated, in the United States of America. He owned millions of acres. And when I say he, it's not he individually, but it's the Nation of Islam collectively. Is everybody with me? So we own millions of acres of farmland under his leadership. And from the farmland, he had a fleet of 18-wheeler trucks. Like Walmart has a fleet, right? Like Sears has a fleet, to ship the food from the farms that we own as black people to the grocery stores that we own. He opened up a chain of grocery stores for black people. Y'all got that? Printing press, Muhammad Speaks, independent education. All for who? All for black people, right? That's not it. He opened up dry cleaners and laundromats and restaurants all over the United States. For who? For black people, right? This man imported fish from Peru because the fish from Peru, the waters are not polluted, right? So that he could sell black people clean fish. And under his leadership, the Nation of Islam was the #1 fish importer. If you drive down Stony Island and go to 69th and Stony, that gray building was the bank that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad opened for who? For black people. Gave us loans at low interest rates. That was the black-owned bank. He opened a shipping line because he brought in products from Japan, household products, sold them to black people at lower prices so we could save that money and use that money to improve our standard of living. You heard of Sam Walton, or you heard of Walmart. You heard of Walmart, right? It started by Sam Walton. Sam's Club, right? He got that idea from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He's the man that opened up the warehouse first, and then let people come in the warehouse and buy their products at a cheaper price from products that he imported from Japan. Is everybody with me? He owned real estate all over the country, houses, apartment complexes, sold it to black people at lower prices, rented it to black people at lower prices so black people could save money. Y'all with me? Here's a man that was going to open up a hospital for black people. Y'all know what the South Shore Cultural Center is, right? He gave the city of Chicago $1 million and was going to turn it into a college. For who? For black people. But the city gave him his money back and said, no, thank you. Then he said, we'll do him one better. He said, I'll just buy the whole south side of Chicago. Now, I want you to think about this. The leaders of today, other than the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, don't even think like this. What leader said, look, I'm just going to buy the whole south side of a city for black people? None of them, right? But I just want to get you acquainted with the greatness of this man so that you can see that for him to do that, he had to be backed by Almighty God Allah. Now, a lot of people like to charge the most honorable Elijah Muhammad with a lot of wrongdoing. They say, well, the reason that Malcolm X left the Nation of Islam is because Elijah Muhammad was jealous of him. Why would Elijah Muhammad be jealous of a man that he made? Are y'all with me? See, you have to understand the strategy of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. All of those businesses I just named. See, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad needed somebody to be out front, handling the press, handling the various mosques all across the nation, so that he could do what? So he could use his time and his energy to build a nation for black people. Are y'all following what I'm saying? So he was using Malcolm X in that capacity, because as he was developing the businesses for the nation, he had Malcolm X out front representing the nation. But where did he get the wisdom from? He got it from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want to read to you a letter, not the whole letter, just the first paragraph, that Malcolm X wrote to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1959. He says, "Dear Holy Apostle, I do not like to burden you with personal troubles of my own, but I feel obligated to you to enclose the facts that are contained in this letter. It is you, thanks to Allah, who made me what I am today, and I owe my life and my entire being to you, even though I know all praise is due to Allah." Malcolm X at that time was under no illusion of how he became who he was. The teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad made him into a world leader. Now you have to keep in mind that this is a man that got out of jail from being in there for 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days, right? And it wasn't, I know some of y'all watched the movie, there wasn't a person in jail that introduced him to the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. His brother had become a Muslim, his blood brother. And his brother came to him in prison and told him about the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Said, "I can get you out of jail if you stop eating pork." Notice that's the first thing he told him. Stop eating pork. Some of y'all may need to stop eating pork. We'll talk about that on another night. And so Malcolm eventually did what? Accepted the teachings, became a model prisoner, right? He got out of jail and was an ex-con. Now, if you've ever been to jail on a felony and you got out, then you know nobody's going to hire you, right or wrong. Right. You know that you're not going to become the president of the SCLC as an ex-con. You know that you can't even run for political office, right? Being an ex-con. You know that the NAACP is not going to accept you as an ex-con. You know the Urban League is not going to take you and make you a world leader and you went to jail on a robbery charge. They're not going to do that, is that right? So now, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad brought this man out of prison, right? And made him into a world leader. Malcolm X went all over the world representing the Nation of Islam. See, people say, well, when he went to Mecca, he found out that there were white Muslims. And that's why he left the Nation of Islam. Because Elijah Muhammad said that the white man was the devil, right? And he couldn't be a Muslim. But he went to Mecca and he saw white Muslims. You heard that before, right? But see, what they don't tell you is Malcolm went to Mecca in 1959 as a representative of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He had already gone throughout the whole Middle East and met a lot of white Muslims. In fact, when he came back from the Middle East, he had a slideshow in New York where he was the minister. And he showed them how there was racism even in the Middle East. Because there's racism there now, and there was racism there then. Are y'all with me? See, the only person that wants us is the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Orthodox Muslims, the Arab Muslims don't want you. They want you if you come here and say you're a Muslim first, then you meet them, yeah, then they'll accept you. But they don't want you as a gangbanger. They don't want you as a drug dealer. The church don't want you. You go to church throwing up the GD sign. Talking about GD. They don't want you. Talking about we four corner hustlers, right? Talking about I just got out of prison on a triple homicide. The church don't want you. The white Christians, they don't want you. But if you become a Muslim, now they want you. You understand what I'm saying? They talk about how we got to win the people back because all these black men are becoming Muslims. But before, did they want you? They didn't want you before. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the only one that wanted us. So he accepted Malcolm X straight out of prison, made him the minister in New York, right? And see, we can't take away any of the work that Malcolm X did while he was in the Nation of Islam. I'm going to read to you a verse out of the Holy Quran. We're talking about the Holy Quran, chapter 9, verse 120. Y'all got that? Write it down. Holy Quran, chapter 9, verse 120. It says, surely Allah wastes not the reward of the doers of good. So as Muslims today, we can't take anything away from Malcolm X. What did he do when he was in the Nation of Islam? He used to write a column in the Pittsburgh Courier representing the most honorable Elijah Muhammad called God's Angry Men. This man was instrumental in starting the newspaper Muhammad Speaks, which is now called The Final Call. Y'all got that? This man opened mosques for the honorable Elijah Muhammad all over the country. We're talking about Malcolm X. He headed one of the best mosques, which was in New York City, right? Mosque number 7. Now, some of you may have met a brother before or sister, and they invited you out to the mosque. You saw them out on the street, and they said, hey, just come to the mosque. We want you to come here, such and such, so and so, right? Do you know who started that? Malcolm X started that. Going out actively, bringing people to the mosque. He started that. So we have to give credit where credit is due. See, we call Elijah Muhammad the honorable Elijah Muhammad because Malcolm X introduced that to the Nation of Islam. Y'all with me? Now some of y'all may say, why he got to be honorable? But we don't say that when the judge who was locking us away for 20 years, the honorable white racist judge, will you please stand? And if you don't stand, you're in contempt of court, right or wrong. We don't protest when they're called honorable. But here's a man that changed the lives of millions of people. He is very honorable. Now, he went all over the country representing the Nation of Islam on television and on radio. So we can't take away the work of Malcolm X. But we want to know, why did Malcolm X leave the Nation of Islam? That's what we want to know. Is that right? See, the thing that people never tell you about is the type of relationship that Malcolm X and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had. Right. They had a father and son relationship. Now I want you, if you have children, I want you to think about that. You have a child who you shared with him knowledge and wisdom. You share with him things that are making him successful. You correct the mistakes that he makes, right? Now, if this son becomes successful, are you going to seek the death of your own son? Now, I'm a school teacher, and I share knowledge with my students. And if one of them takes what I teach them and becomes great in the future, I'm not going to be angry with them. If they use what I taught and it caused them to become great, then I'm going to be what? I'm going to be happy for them. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad, when Malcolm X was the minister in New York, paid him a salary of $1,000 a week. Now, most of us in this room don't get paid $1,000 a week right now. We're talking about in the 1950s when $1,000 was real money. You don't get paid $1,000, you might, some of y'all. I don't get paid $1,000 a week, right? Now, not only that, but he paid for all of his expenses. When he traveled all over the country, Malcolm X didn't have to pay for that. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad paid for it. When Malcolm X needed a car, guess who bought the car? Malcolm X didn't have to buy the car. The honorable Elijah Muhammad bought the car, the one that said Malcolm X College. He bought that car for Malcolm X, and the one before that. Malcolm X lived in what you would call a mini mansion, right? In New Rochelle, New York. And guess who paid the mortgage on the house? Not Malcolm X, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. He told him, look, I don't want you to move unless you got $500 in your pocket. You can't even move unless you got $500 in your pocket. Why did he do that? See, people never tell you the love that Elijah Muhammad had for Malcolm X. They leave that out, so when they lie and say that he was jealous of him, you'll believe that foolishness. But this is a man who loved Malcolm X, treated him like a son, cared for the man, gave him wisdom, and that wisdom exalted Malcolm X in the world. Y'all with me? This man met with Fidel Castro. He met with Kwame Nkrumah. He met with the king of Saudi Arabia when the king came to America. Now, you tell me another ex-con that meets with kings and rulers. Come on, I'm listening. Most kings don't even want you around them if you've been to jail. But here's a man that was brought out of prison and made a world leader by the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, see, the government, see, you can't study Malcolm X's life. You can't study the Nation of Islam if you don't study the government of the United States of America and what they did to try to destroy black people in the 1950s and 60s. So I'm just going to share with you a little information about what did the government do to destroy the Nation of Islam. Y'all got that? What did the government do to destroy the Nation of Islam? Now there's a thing called COINTELPRO. COINTELPRO is the counterintelligence program of J. Edgar Hoover. This program was started in 1956. COINTELPRO started in 1956. It was started to destroy the Communist Party. Now I'm going to tell you what they did to the Communist Party. And you tell me, does it sound familiar? They sent their agents into the Communist Party, right? And the agents got into leadership in the Communist Party, split the Communist Party into two groups, and eventually FBI agents were the leaders of both groups. Are y'all with me? And since they were the leaders of both groups, they're undercover, they made the Communist Party fight and kill each other until there was no Communist Party. That's the COINTELPRO towards the Communist Party. But see, when black people started to rise, J. Edgar Hoover told his agents that when it comes to black people, it's no holds barred. Do whatever you got to do to destroy every black leader. Y'all got that? Yes, some black leaders? No, every black leader. Let's see. What did the government do to try to destroy the Nation of Islam? Are y'all with me? Yes, before we even go into that. Now, see, you have to know the motive of J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover was a Shriner. A Shriner, and I have a picture of, some people may call him Gay Edgar because he was gay. But I have a picture of J. Edgar Hoover in his Shriner's hat. Do y'all see that? Now, if you know anything about Shriners, you know that they study Islam, right? You know anything about Shriners, you know that they study Islam. And they read the Holy Quran. So if they read the same book that we read, then they know the same things as far as the prophecies that we know. Let's see, what did the government do to destroy the Nation of Islam? First thing you need to know is there's never been a study of COINTELPRO activities against the Nation of Islam. They got it against the Black Panthers, they have it against everyone else except the Nation of Islam. Now, they found out in their research that the quickest way to divide black people is to find out or is to say that they've been misappropriating the money. That's the quickest way. That's why when you ever hear anything about a black leader, they always say they did something with the money. What did they say after the Million Man March? What happened to all the money? Is that right? What did they say against Ben Chavis? He was stealing money from the NAACP. Because what do they always say about Minister Farrakhan? Oh, he live in that big old mansion and y'all poor, right? They always use money because they know most black people are poor. But they found out that's the quickest way that we'll leave our leaders. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of what they did to the Nation of Islam. Now, in the city of Dallas, at that time in the 60s, there was no official minister there. So the minister in Houston had to travel to Dallas to do the meetings. Y'all follow what I'm saying? One Sunday he's in Houston, the next Sunday he's in Dallas. So the FBI started the rumor that in Houston they said, oh, he got a woman in Dallas, that's why he leave every other Sunday. And in Dallas they said, he's taking the money back to Houston. Y'all follow what I'm saying? And they eventually divided both of those mosques. You understand what I'm saying? With rumors. That's why when you come into the Nation of Islam, we don't spread rumors. We don't believe in gossip and slander like many of us do in the church. You follow what I'm saying? Let's move on. What else did they do? Now, the FBI made two black organizations, the Black Panthers and a group called the United Slaves, started by Maulana Karenga. Sent letters to each group talking about each other, and they ended up going to war with each other with guns. Some Black Panthers were killed. Y'all heard of the Republic for New Africa? Okay. Now, they sent letters from the Republic of I'm talking about the FBI. They used their stationery, sent letters to the members of the Nation of Islam, and said, Elijah Muhammad is stealing y'all's money. You heard that before, right? Farrakhan be stealing y'all money. You mean Farrakhan let y'all drive cars? Crazy stuff like that, right? Now, and so that started a conflict between the Republic of New Africa and the Nation of Islam. Then in Chicago, they tried to pit the Black Panthers against the Nation of Islam by telling the Muslims that the Black Panthers are trying to take over your corner where you sell papers. And then they told the Black Panthers, the Muslims are going to come beat y'all up. And see, we don't carry guns, but the Black Panthers do. So they tried to turn the Black Panthers' guns against the Nation of Islam, but that didn't work. Then, in Mobile, Alabama, guess what? There were no black nationalist groups in Mobile. None. So what did the FBI say? They didn't say, oh, well, forget about it. Nah. They said, okay, well, make a group, invent a group, start a group, and then make that group fight another group that you made. So when they make a group, then sincere people come in, right? Then they make another group and sincere people come in. Then they make those groups fight each other. So they'll never make any progress. Are you following what I'm saying? Okay, y'all with me? Now, this is what the FBI said about the Nation of Islam. Y'all ready? For years, the Bureau has operated a counterintelligence program against the Nation of Islam and Muhammad. Despite these efforts, he continues unchallenged in the leadership of the Nation of Islam, and the organization itself, in terms of membership and finances, has been unaffected. All that they did to destroy the nation, they had to admit that none of it worked. The FBI is the ones that started the lie that the Nation of Islam are not real Muslims. You've heard that before, right? That was started by the FBI. They, in 1958, had list of every mosque and every leader in every mosque. They put Malcolm X on the list of subversives in the United States. They started tapping the most honorable Elijah Muhammad's phone, pay attention, January 4th, 1957, 24-hour surveillance on the honorable Elijah Muhammad. Y'all got that? So now, in 1959, that's when they decided that they must destroy the Nation of Islam. In 1959, I'm moving quickly. So they planted stories in the white newspapers about the Nation of Islam. Now, many newspapers agreed to work with the FBI, and the FBI would write the news article just like they do today, pass it on to the newspaper, and the newspaper would print the article as if that newspaper researched it and wrote it. Now, here are the newspapers that were working for the FBI. The Chicago Tribune, Jet and Ebony. Did y'all hear that? Jet and Ebony. Time Magazine, U.S. News and World Report, Saturday Evening Post, Esquire, Confidential, Newsweek, Detroit Free Press, True and Saga, all printing articles about the Nation of Islam written by the FBI. The reason is because the FBI never wanted black people to have leadership. See, if you want to know who really assassinated Malcolm X, then you have to look at the government. Those are the ones who are responsible for the assassination of Malcolm X. Let's deal with it. Y'all ready to deal with it? Now, in 1963, Kennedy was assassinated, right? November 22nd, 1963. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad sends letters out to all of his ministers, make no mention of the assassination of the president, right? December 1st, 8 days later, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Malcolm X to cancel the program on December 1st. Malcolm X begged the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, said, can we still do it? We paid for the auditorium. We paid to put out the flyers. Can we still have it? He said yes, but make no mention of the assassination of the president. Malcolm X comes to the speech, does the speech. At the end, a reporter asked him the question, what do you think about the assassination of Kennedy? He said, chickens coming home to roost never made me sad. Chickens coming home to roost always made me glad. Is that right? And then the white press took it and put it all over the world, right? Now, some of you will say, well, see, if y'all believe that they devils anyway, why would you care that he said something about Kennedy, even though what he said was true? Why do we care? Because we have Muslim women that may have to walk home from work or catch the bus, right? We have children that are going home from school. We have innocent people who know nothing about Malcolm's comment, but who may suffer as a result of Malcolm's comment. Because people love Kennedy. And if you come out saying, oh, I'm glad he died, then you and people who you represent will suffer, right? And may be killed as a result. Y'all remember when the Twin Towers got knocked down? How they start just beating up Arabs, right or wrong? Because they thought that the people that did it were Arabs, so they took it out on Arabs. See, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is a wise man. He said, make no mention of the president's death, because he knew that that would incite the black people's anger and white people's anger towards the Nation of Islam. And innocent people could lose their life. But Malcolm X made the comment. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad silenced him for 90 days, right? If you read the FBI file, they say that now that he's been silenced, that they had another plan to split Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X. They don't say what the plan was, but we know that their plan was effective. Is that right? So now let's look at it. The government engineered the split between the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm X. They say, well, they found out that Elijah Muhammad had all these wives, right? And Malcolm X said, well, Elijah Muhammad is not the man who I thought he was, because I found out that he had all these girlfriends or wives, right? Now let's deal with it. Was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad an immoral man? Was he sleeping around? And then when Malcolm X found out, then Malcolm X said, I can't be with this man no more. Because he said one thing, but he did the other thing. Is that right? Now, I want you to think with me. Now remember, you have to judge the Honorable Elijah Muhammad by what's in this book. Right? The Holy Quran. He is the messenger of God. Every man of God, all of them. Well, not everyone, not Jesus. But the prophets of God had more than one wife. Is that right? Abraham had 3 wives. Moses had 2 wives. Solomon had 1,000 wives. Right? David had 3 wives. All of the men of God had more than one wife. And see, because our minds are so filthy, we think having more than one wife is just so you can have sex with more than one woman. That's what we think. But polygamy is not like that. See, what we have in the world, where you just lay down and get up and go on about your business, and we have all these orphans and all these baby mamas, that's what we have. That's not what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad was engaged in. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Minister Farrakhan that Allah forced him into his domestic life. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad did not start taking wives until he was 62. That's in 1959. So now, what about all the years when he was a young man? For 7 years he was away from his wife, right? And there's no record of him ever cheating on his wife, right or wrong. He traveled the whole United States as a young man, and he never cheated on his wife. Never had any so-called extramarital affairs, right? And the wives of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, they're alive today. They can bear witness to this man's character. See, but you have to understand that Allah sees down into the future. And here's a man who has children by his first wife. They're not here today, are they? Are they here helping the Honorable Louis Farrakhan? No, they're not. But see, Allah is the best knower. Because the children by his other wives, where are they? Minister Ishmael is here, is that right? Minister Rasul is here, is that right? Brother Kamal, the National Secretary, is here, is that right? See, Allah doesn't plan for just one day. He plans for in the future. Is everybody with me? So now, every prophet is charged with doing evil. Every prophet, right? Let's look in the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran, this book that we believe in as Muslims, clears all of the prophets from their evil. I'm going to go through this real quick, then we'll go into the assassination. Are y'all ready? I'm talking about the day of the assassination and what happened. Jesus was cleared of the false charges. In the Holy Quran, chapter 3, verse 51 through 55, they charged him with telling the people that he made them worship him. And God cleared some of those false charges. Is that right? Then you turn to the 12th chapter of the Holy Quran. And Joseph was charged with trying to sleep with the wife of the Egyptian, right? And Joseph is cleared in the chapter 12, verse 50 through 57. Cleared of the false charges. David is charged with committing adultery. But in the Holy Quran, chapter 38, verse 24. Y'all got that? 38, verse 24. David is cleared of the false charge of committing adultery. Solomon, in the second surah or chapter, the 102nd verse, he was charged with worshiping false gods, but he's cleared of the charges. Aaron was charged with leading the people astray, into worshiping the golden calf. But in the 20th chapter and the 90th verse of the Holy Quran, he was cleared of those charges. Moses, in 33 verse 69, is cleared of the false charges. Prophet Muhammad, in chapter 7 verse 200, y'all got that? 7 verse 200, cleared of the false charges. So now, if all of the prophets were charged with doing something evil and wrong, do you think the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is any different? Is he going to be charged? They're a sign of him. Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's look at the assassination of Malcolm X. Now, Malcolm X said that he would no longer blame the Muslims when his house was firebombed in New York. His house was firebombed 7 days before he was assassinated. Now, what they always show you on the news is him coming out the house saying, you know who did this. It was the Muslims that did it, right? That was the night that his house got firebombed, right? But then the New York police tried to blame Malcolm for firebombing his own house. Now, I want you to keep in mind, he's living in a house that the Nation of Islam was paying the mortgage on, right? So why would we firebomb a house that we were paying for? So the New York police charged Malcolm with firebombing his own house because they said a Molotov cocktail was on the dresser. But the neighbors said that the police brought it in and put it on the dresser because they came in to get clothes for the children and there was no cocktail there. They saw him bringing one in. Y'all got that? So Malcolm X found that out later, and I'm going to read to you his exact words of what he said. Y'all with me? He said, the more I keep thinking about this thing, the things that have been happening lately, I'm not sure it's the black Muslims. I know what they can do and what they can't. They can't do some of the things, some of the stuff recently going on. I think I'm going to quit saying it's the Muslims. Those are Malcolm X's own words. Wait a minute. Malcolm X's sister also said it wasn't the Muslims. Bear with me for 1 minute. Oh, I think it's up. Here it is right here. Y'all with me? She said, we're talking about his sister Ella. Talking about the police, when they planted the gasoline, I knew that it was no longer the Muslims. Now, I want you to be very clear. See, the FBI had people in the Nation of Islam, and they had people in Malcolm X's organization. In fact, J. Edgar Hoover told them to recruit more agents because he saw that Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad had split, and they needed new people to join Malcolm X's group. See, the purpose of the agent is to get in a position to influence someone so that the black organizations can always be fighting, trying to kill one another. Are y'all with me? So now, Malcolm X's house was firebombed. The government was trying to make it seem like it was the nation, and there were a lot of Muslims in the nation. Most Muslims, well, all Muslims, were angry with Malcolm X. But I want you to think about it. If Elijah Muhammad ordered Malcolm X's death, and they started tapping his phone in 1957, you can't order somebody's death and not go to jail. Why did John Gotti go to jail? Because he ordered somebody's death, is that right? And he went to jail and died in jail, is that right? So if they were tapping his phone, following him 24 hours a day, and they wanted both men, then why didn't they come and arrest the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Because they didn't have anything on him. Now, I can't say that there were not people in the Nation of Islam, that wanted Malcolm X dead, because there were. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us at that time to leave Malcolm X alone. But see, some people don't listen. It is today as it was then. You have hard-headed people. And see, the way that the government rolls, see, when you're in all these little gossip circuits, the government is listening to you. That's why there's supposed to be no gossiping, no backbiting. You say, well, see, if it's true, if the nigga did it, then shoot, what's wrong with just telling the truth? And that's true, if it is true, right? There's nothing wrong with truth, but truth spoken out of season bears no fruit. And if this brother cheated on his wife, let's say, and I'm telling you, and you can't do nothing about it, why am I telling you? See, so the FBI would be among people in the nation in Malcolm's group saying, man, that nigga, what he's saying about Elijah Muhammad ain't right. Somebody should deal with him.
And then if the brother is gullible, he's like, what? Y'all saw N2D, right? Y'all saw Belly, right? Okay, he's like, what? Well, yeah, I think you're right. We should deal with him. Well, why don't you come with me so we can deal with him? Because what he's saying about Elijah ain't right. And then you got people among Malcolm's group saying, the way Elijah did you was wrong. You did all that. You built the whole nation by yourself, right? You read the dictionary and became a world leader. And look at how he treated you, right? So now, this is what the FBI is doing behind the scenes. Y'all with me? So Malcolm said he would no longer blame the Muslims. His sister said it wasn't the Muslims. On the day that Malcolm was assassinated, we're talking about February 21st, 1965. Malcolm had asked after his house was firebombed for police protection, right? The day that he was assassinated, there was no police protection in the Audubon ballroom. No police anywhere to be seen. When you came in here tonight, you had to be checked, is that right? When Malcolm X was assassinated, there was no check procedure. Because some slick government agent told Malcolm X, look, you're offending those people when you check them. That's offensive. It reminds them of Elijah Muhammad. And guess what was the first day Malcolm stopped checking people in the Audubon ballroom? The first day was February 21st. All before then, Malcolm still checked people. But on the day that he said he would no longer search, that's the day that they came in with the guns. That should let you know that there was someone among his group working for the government, right? So there's no check procedure. Now, Malcolm X's chief security guard, his name is Gene X. Roberts. Chief security, he was an undercover agent for the New York Police Department. They had a boss group, Bureau of Special Services. So this man is Malcolm's chief security guard. Right before Malcolm comes to the rostrum, he signals to be relieved from his post. Y'all with me? Now, the day of the assassination, the press usually sits on the front row, right? Anytime there's a meeting, the press sits on the front row because they may have questions or whatever, right? But on February 21st, the press was on Malcolm's right and what should be their left, your left. Y'all with me? They put the press on the side. Y'all got that? And it left the front row clear because the two men had to get into the argument, right? Okay. So now, no one got checked. Press is put on the side. Did Elijah Muhammad do that? Did he call the press and say, look, sit on the side today? Did he call and say, look, don't check today? Did Elijah Muhammad do that? When Malcolm X went to France and they said, we can't let you in because you're going to be assassinated? Did Elijah Muhammad call France? When he went to Egypt and they poisoned him in Egypt? Did Elijah Muhammad call him in Egypt and say, look, put some poison in this food? Or was that the FBI and the CIA? Are y'all with me? So now the press is on the side. The man stands up. Get your hand out of my pocket, which was a diversion. Now, the two men that were on Malcolm left Malcolm. If you know anything about security, anything, then you know that if the principal is about to be dealt with or harmed, then you cover the principal and you get them to the nearest exit, right? This man says, get your hand out of my pocket. The two men leave the stage, right? Gene X. Roberts is at the door making sure that the men get out. That's why he's at the door. Y'all with me? The two men leave the stage to go after the men in the audience. The three men that are in the audience with guns come up and they shoot Malcolm X to death, right? Then all five men run out. Now someone told Malcolm X's people not to carry any guns that day. But Reuben X. Francis, he had his gun. He brought his, right? And he shot, what's his name? Talmadge Hayer, who was caught on the scene. He shot him in the foot, right? His accomplice was right in front of him, running out. The crowd caught him, and they caught Talmadge Hayer. Y'all got me? Two men were caught. You say, no. If two, then why didn't they say that? I got the microfilm right here from the New York Daily News. And I'm going to read to you what y'all with me? The New York Daily News said on February 21st, 1965. You can go get the microfilm yourself from the library. The New York Times said the same thing. Where is it? Hold on one second. We're almost done. Got so much stuff. Here it is. Okay, y'all ready? Malcolm X, this is the Herald Tribune, New York Herald Tribune. Malcolm X slain by gunmen as 400 in ballroom watch. Police rescue 2 suspects. That's February 21st, 1965, right? This is February 22nd, 1965. Y'all ready? Malcolm X slain by gunmen as 400 in ballroom watch. Police rescue 1 suspect. What happened? What happened to the other man? That all of the New York papers said there were 2 men on the day of the assassination, but the next day they said it was 1 man. Why did they say that? Because the one that they let go was the one that was working for the FBI. Now the man that was caught, he said that the 2 members of the Nation of Islam were not involved in the assassination. We're talking about Norman 3X Butler and Robert 15X Johnson. He said they weren't even there. They were very popular Muslims. And if they would have came in, everybody would have recognized them. Then he gave the 4 names of the other men that were involved. The government refused to reopen the case. Why would they do that unless the government was involved? Then, what's his name? Gene Roberts, the undercover agent, after he makes sure the men get out, right? By the way, the second man who was let go, he was caught by a police officer. Now this police officer was not on duty. He just happened to be passing by in his car and saw the people beating up one of the suspects. So he got the suspect and they took one to the hospital, Talmadge Hare, who was shot in the foot, and they took the other one to the police station. That's the one that was let go. Y'all got that? So now we're dealing with only facts. So, Gene X. Roberts comes from the back, and Malcolm X is laying down, and he gives a mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Now I want you to think about it. This man got shot, like Ray Ray got shot. But when the paramedics came for Ray Ray, they didn't give him mouth-to-mouth, right? When the paramedics came for Pookie, they didn't give him mouth-to-mouth. Right or wrong? Because you don't give a person mouth-to-mouth when they've been shot. You give a person mouth-to-mouth when they drown, right? To get the water out of their lungs. So why was this man giving Malcolm X mouth-to-mouth resuscitation unless he wanted to make sure that Malcolm X was dead? Are y'all with me? Now, there's a man who was over the CIA. His name is Colonel Fletcher Powtry. He said that whenever there's an assassination, the most important part of the story is the cover story. The story that comes out in the press, because that story covers the real story. You understand what I'm saying? Now this is the man who is the head of the CIA. The most important part of an assassination, he says, is the cover story, because that story covers the real story. See, the FBI wanted the blame to be put on Elijah Muhammad. So the black people who loved Malcolm would in turn kill Elijah Muhammad so they could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. This man was a Shriner. That means he studied 35 to 50 years and he studied Islam. So he knew exactly what he was doing. Y'all follow what I'm saying? Now, Malcolm X was killed. They put the blame on Elijah Muhammad. Let me make sure I covered everything. The 2 men that were arrested, they just fit the description, 2 black men. They could arrest any 2 black men. So they got 2 black Muslims so they could blame Elijah for the assassination. But they couldn't bring any concrete proof that he had anything to do with it. So now, what lessons can we learn from the assassination of Malcolm X? Are there any lessons? Now I'm going to give you a quote from a man that's been studying the assassination of Malcolm X for the last 10 years, and we're wrapping it up. He says, Manning Marble, who's a college professor, he says, 2 of the 3 men who were in prison, Norman X. Butler, Robert 15X Johnson, convicted and given life sentences, I am absolutely convinced were innocent. The real murderers of Malcolm X have not been caught or punished. That's Manning Marble. Now what lesson can we learn from the assassination of Malcolm X? See, I'm going to tell you real quick. The 4 goals of COINTELPRO was to prevent black nationalist groups from being attractive to the youth. That's goal number 1. Goal number 2 was to watch for the misappropriation of money or to steal money. so they can put it out in the press that they're stealing money. Y'all got that? The third goal of COINTELPRO was to capitalize on conflicts between black groups. The fourth goal of COINTELPRO was to discredit groups and leaders. Now I need you to go pick something up. It's called the National Security Memorandum number 46. That's National Security Memorandum number 46. We're wrapping it up with this. They said in this memorandum that they wanted to prevent any coordinated activity of the black movement in the United States. We're talking about the government. They said that they wanted to use the CIA to create division among blacks in America and blacks in Africa. They never wanted a leader in America that could appeal to blacks in Africa. And they also said that they wanted the FBI to monitor the activities of all the black leaders and African leaders. Y'all got that? So now, let's look at it. William Sullivan, who was the assistant director of the FBI, said after the March on Washington, Martin Luther King was the most powerful Negro because of his ability to appeal to the masses. How many people came to the March on Washington? 250,000, is that right? Now, if this man said that he was the most powerful Negro in America in 1963 because he caused 250,000 people to come to the March on Washington, then we have to look at today and look at the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. This man brought not 250,000, but brought 2 million black men where? To Washington, D.C. If the government was afraid that a black leader would appeal to Africans and that there would be a relationship with blacks in America and blacks in Africa, does the Honorable Louis Farrakhan have a relationship like that? If the government said that no black nationalist leader should appeal to the youth, does the Honorable Louis Farrakhan appeal to the youth? If they said that we don't want any black leader that could unite all of the black organizations into one group because that person would represent the black messiah, does the Honorable Louis Farrakhan have that ability to unite all of the groups? Y'all saw the press conference on the 2nd of May? Everybody was there, right, except the haters, right? Because he's been blessed with the ability to do what? To unite all of the factions in the black community into one group. Listen to what Manning Marble had to say as we close it out. I think that Malcolm wasn't envisioning, even while he was in the Nation of Islam, a black nationalist progressive strategy towards uniting black people across ideological, class lines, denominational, religious lines, Christians as well as Muslims, to build a strong movement for the justice and empowerment of black people. And I think that is what frightened the FBI, and that is what frightened the CIA. Well, if Malcolm X was uniting groups in the 60s, or not doing it, he planned to. He never got a chance to do it, right? And the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is doing it today, then what is the plan of the government against that man? See, the reason that we have the life of Malcolm X and his great example is so that we could have a leader that the government could not deceive. They've been working for the last 40 years to try to destroy the Nation of Islam, or the last 23 under the Honorable Louis Farrakhan's leadership, 24. And they have not been successful. They tried to get him and Jesse to go at one another, right? But because he had the example of Malcolm X, that didn't work, is that right? They used other leaders, is that right? Then, in 1991, they opened up a movie, or 93, they started a movie on Malcolm X, right? Because there was no man that was living that they could use against the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, so they had to use Malcolm. But can a dead man lead you? Dead man can't lead you anywhere, is that right? The white man doesn't follow dead men. Kennedy is dead. Kennedy can't lead them anymore. They moved right along, inaugurated Johnson, and kept on stepping, is that right? So, but they try to use Malcolm so that you won't be attracted to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. They tried to set up the daughter of Malcolm X to assassinate the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And Minister Farrakhan dropped the charges. Right or wrong? See, the enemy is always working to destroy the Nation of Islam and destroy the rise of black people. But God has shaped a man in the Honorable Louis Farrakhan where none of their tricks are able to work. In fact, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the enemy had a lot of traps laid out for him, meaning the minister, and that he would spring every trap and not get caught in one. So brothers and sisters, what we have to do is we have to learn from the life of Malcolm X and know that his life was a lesson from yesterday so that we could walk down this path that we're on today. And we shouldn't let the enemy who hates all of us have us so divided that we can't come together as a family. Is everybody with me? So brothers and sisters, I don't want to belabor the point, but if you research the life of Malcolm X and the death of Malcolm X, the facts bear witness that the government is responsible for his assassination. Now, they may have used ignorant people that were in the Nation of Islam, even though Talmadge Hayer said he wasn't in the nation. He admitted that in court, right? But my point is this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had nothing to do with the assassination of Malcolm X. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan had nothing to do with it. Y'all with me? The government orchestrated everything from behind the scenes, had us fighting and killing each other, and they reaped the benefits. Are y'all with me? And they did the same thing to Martin Luther King Jr. They did the same thing to the Black Panthers. Fred Hampton was killed here in Chicago, right? By a plan of the FBI, and a black agent by the name of William O'Neill gave them the floor plan so they could go in and assassinate our brother, right? So what we have to do is we have to unite in spite of our differences and back the man that has the guidance from God, which is the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. So brothers and sisters, I hope that I answered all of your questions related to the assassination of Malcolm X. I'm making sure I covered everything. Yes, sir. Brother had a question, and we closing out.
Malcolm X was looked at as he was looked at as a threat, so that's why he got assassinated, right?
See, Malcolm X was trying to unite black groups. Even at the end of Malcolm X's life, he was trying to come back in the Nation of Islam, which many people don't tell you. And he wanted to unite all of the civil rights group into one group and put pressure on the United States government through the UN. So since he was planning that, the government did not want to be embarrassed before the world, so they had to deal with him. But they couldn't just come kill him. They had to make it appear as though the Nation of Islam had him assassinated. Y'all with me?
So is that the same? So is it the same thing that they're trying to do to the ministers? They're trying to get people to play a role in the Nation of Islam.
Oh, yes, sir.
To assassinate him.
Yes, sir. That's the same thing. The reason I brought up the information at the end is because if they were afraid of Martin Luther King and they were afraid of Malcolm X and they were afraid of the leaders at that time, and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has a greater appeal today by the grace of God only to more people than any of those people in the past, then what is their plan as it relates to him? Y'all with me? See, these are the things you want to think about. They always want, the government wants to deny black people leadership. When the FBI, they hated Martin Luther King Jr., they planned his assassination, they knew he was going to be assassinated, but did you know they chose Martin Luther King Jr.'s replacement? Yes, they did. It was a man by the name of Samuel R. Pierce. They agreed that he would be a good leader for Negro people because they didn't like Martin Luther King Jr. So you have to always keep in mind that there's a plan behind the scenes to deal with our leaders. And even though you may not like some of them, even though they may make mistakes, you have to always keep in mind, well, what is the government doing to manifest their weakness? Y'all heard of Marion Barry, right? That's a man that was on television smoking crack with a prostitute. And all the black people say, oh man, look at him. This nigga on TV smoking crack. But they didn't tell you that the government spent $20 million to track the man so they could put him on TV. They didn't tell you what they did to get him in that room. All they did was put him on TV and we made mockery of him. Is that right? All praise is due to Allah. So brothers and sisters, I don't want to belabor the point. I would like to leave you as I came before you with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. You may have heard, well,
the reason that Malcolm X left the Nation of Islam is because Elijah Muhammad was having sex to women he wasn't married to, right?
Yeah.
He was having extramarital affairs, right? That's what they say. Now let's deal with that. Now, how many of y'all heard of Bill Clinton before?
First black
Okay.
president.
They call him the first black president, right?
That's what they call it.
Now, Bill Clinton hasn't done 1/8 for black people what Elijah Muhammad did for black people.
That's right.
I mean, he can't even compare, right?
That's right.
In any way, shape, form, or fashion, the man cannot compare, right?
He's a
That's right.
But now, he was in a relationship with a woman he wasn't married to, right or wrong?
That's right.
And did black people turn against him?
No, sir.
Or did black people come to his defense?
They came to his defense.
They came to his defense, right?
Right.
Because they said that the good he did outweighed
That's
him
right.
being with Monica Lewinsky.
That's right.
Now here's a man that's using a cigar as a sex toy.
That's right.
And you can defend him, but you can't defend a man that worked 44 years and built a nation for black people.
Nah,
You
come on,
can't
nah.
defend him. That's crazy. You never heard no people say, well, since Bill Clinton cheated on his wife, I don't want to be in America.
That's right.
I thought he was a righteous man.
That's right.
I thought he was a good man. But he cheated on his wife.
That's right.
I don't want to be in America. The hell with America.
That's a shame.
Have you ever heard anybody say that?
No, sir.
Kennedy cheated on his wife. Right or wrong?
Right.
With many women. Now, I'm not saying Elijah Muhammad cheated on his wife.
That's right.
I'm just manifesting the hypocrisy.
That's right.
Some of you right now got Kennedy's picture up in the
That's
house.
right.
Next to Martin Luther King.
That's right.
Right? And the white Jesus.
That's right.
You got Kennedy right there. Kennedy liked black people.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? That's my man.
That's right.
He's the only president, him and Lincoln, who I cared about.
That's right.
This man was having sex with everything that had two legs.
Oh, that hurts.
That wasn't a man. Y'all with me?
That's right.
Everything. Had the Secret Service letting him know when Jackie was coming home. So he could put the women out the back door of the White House. But black people love Kennedy. What did he do for black people?
No. That's right.
He didn't do nothing for black folks.
Talk about
Ain't
it.
checking with us.
All these rappers that we idolize, they in the video got naked women everywhere. Butt shaking all in their face.
That's right.
Having sex with all these women.
Tell the truth.
And you never hear nobody say, oh damn man, I don't like hip hop no more because this nigga cheated on his wife.
That's right.
Right?
Come on now.
Right.
He's having sex with all these women. So I can't be in hip hop no more.
Come on with it.
You never heard that, right?
Never.
And they ain't doing nothing for black people. So now, could that be the reason why Malcolm X left the nation? The senators didn't say I don't want to be an American when they found out Kennedy was cheating on his wife.
That's right.
They didn't say they didn't want to be an American anymore. See, white people, they don't judge their leaders based on the mistakes they make.
That's right.
They judge their leaders based on what they do.
That's right.
You read Kennedy's biography, it's not sitting there talking about, yeah, he had sex with so many women, he put Bill Clinton to shame.
Yeah.
You know, you don't read that.
Never.
They talk about the great accomplishments of the man. Right or wrong.
That's right.
So now, why can't we be the same way?
Why not?
As black people.
That's
Why
right.
not?
You understand? The only leader whose domestic life we concern ourselves with
That's right.
and say, I can't be with that
That's
man
right.
because he had more than one wife is Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
That's right.
Now let's put everything on the table.
Let's put it on the table.
What does the Holy Quran say first? The Holy Quran says that a Muslim man can have up to 4 wives.
That's right.
Now let's be all clear. In the nation of Islam, we cannot have 4 wives.
That's right.
That is in the Holy Quran.
Make the plain.
But it's not for us because of the condition that we're in as black people.
That's right.
See, if we had more than one wife,
That's right.
then it would just be about sex.
That's right.
Right? And that's all it would be about. One wife may be living at home with her mother. One wife may be in an apartment.
No shame.
One wife may be in a shack somewhere.
No shame.
And we'll just, whoever ain't mad at us, that's the one we'll be with.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? See, God allows polygamy for a reason. Are y'all with me?
Come on now.
Now you can, I know. Some of y'all like, I don't give a damn
Come on,
what
bro.
the Holy
Make
Quran
it
says.
plain.
But what they talk
I don't care. It's wrong. And you know, it is wrong. But see,
polygamy is not a good thing.
Right.
It's very painful.
Right.
But see, you have to understand why God allows it. He allows it because if he didn't allow it under certain circumstances only, then it would lead to even greater evils.
That's right.
Are y'all with me?
That's right.
What greater evils are you talking about?
Uh-oh.
See, in a society where you have more women than you have men,
That's right.
or you have men that go off to war and they die in the
That's
war,
right.
and they leave their wives with their children,
Listen
right?
now.
See, if no man steps up to be a father and to be a man, then how is the woman going to provide for those children?
That's right.
That's right.
She may have to go turn some tricks, right?
That's right.
That's right.
You look at America right now.
Talk about it.
The black woman is almost abandoned by the black man.
That's right.
That's
Right or wrong?
That's right.
And these men aren't standing up being a man.
That's right.
Some of them want to be other than a man.
That's right.
That's right.
Some of them want to be a woman.
That's right.
So you got all these sisters out here with all these children and no man to be a father to those children.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So now, what do? Do you have the woman in the club stripping to pay for diapers? Is that what you have? Do you have the woman as a video? I can't say the other word, but you know the sisters that be in the videos.
Dance.
A video dancer? Is that what she should turn to? Should she be a loose woman so she can get money to provide for her family? Or should a man step up and provide for the family and for those children? What should happen?
That's right.
Or we get the society we have now. You have all these black children waiting to be adopted. Why are they waiting to be adopted?
That's right.
Because ain't no man there to step up.
Come on
Right or
now.
wrong?
That's
That's
right.
right.
So the problem is there. You have all these women getting abortions. Black women, right?
Disgrace. Yes, it is.
Because there's no men. So now, God allows polygamy under certain circumstances. That's not the norm in Islam. The rule in Islam is one husband and one wife.
That's right.
That's the rule in Islam. Polygamy is only as an exception in certain circumstances. Are y'all following what I'm saying?
That's
That's
right.
right.
So now, let's look at it. If you look in the Bible, in the Holy Quran, most of the prophets of God had more than one wife.
That's right.
Right? Abraham had more than one wife. Right or wrong?
That's right.
Abraham had 3 wives, Sarah, Hagar, and Keturah. Right?
Come on now.
Right.
Moses had 2 wives. David had 2 or 3 wives. Solomon, he had 1,000 wives. So now, if Elijah Muhammad is the messenger of God, right? If he's the messenger of God, and the Holy Quran, I'm going to read it to you in just a second, says the messenger of God would have a certain number of wives, then you have to ask God, well, why did you allow that to happen? So how could Malcolm X, who knew the Bible and the Holy Quran, right,
That's right.
say, well, I can't be with Elijah Muhammad
Uh-oh.
because I found out that he had more than one wife.
Make a point.
But then he could be with Prophet Muhammad,
That's
Come
right.
on.
right?
That's
Who
right.
had 9 wives.
That's
He
right.
could be with Abraham that had 3 wives.
That's right.
He could be with Solomon that had 1,000 wives. Y'all following what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
How can he rationalize that in his head when Elijah Muhammad is the man that brought him from nothing and made him a world leader? When I say a world leader, I'm talking about when the king of Arabia came to America, and that king had more than one wife.
Yes, it is.
He met with Malcolm X in New York.
That's right.
That's right.
When Castro came from Cuba, he met with Malcolm X in New York.
That's right.
When Patrice Lumumba came from Africa, he met with Malcolm X in New York.
That's right.
Kwame Nkrumah, all of them met with Malcolm X. Now you know that if you're out of prison, right, what king and ruler wants to be with you?
That's right.
How
That's
many
right.
kings and rulers right now are meeting with ex-convicts?
I don't know.
You can't even get a job as an ex-convict, right?
That's right.
So now, this man's teachings took him from an ex-con and made him into a world leader, where he's meeting with kings and rulers. So now, how could he, now that he finds out that the man that saved his life and gave him life,
Talk about it.
that this man, because he has more than one wife, is not a good man? Was that the real reason
Uh-oh.
that Malcolm X left the nation? Or was the government involved? Let's see. Now I want to read to you something from the autobiography of Malcolm X. he says, but I am spending many hours, when he's talking about his life story, because the full story is the best way that I know to have it seen and understood, that I had sunk to the very bottom of the American white man's society, when soon now in prison I found Allah and the religion of Islam, and it completely transformed my life. We're talking about the words of Malcolm X, 150 of page 150 of his autobiography. Now Malcolm X met with African kings, and they had more than one wife, right?
Yes,
If you
sir.
study the history of Africa, the rulers had more than one wife,
Straight up.
right?
That's right.
Now, the sheikhs in Arabia, they had more than one wife.
That's right.
Now, if you study ancient Egypt, because we love to study ancient Egypt,
Yes, sir.
you don't say, well, I can't be with Ramses
Right.
because he had more than one wife.
Make it plain.
I can't respect King Tut
Make it plain.
because he had more than one wife. I
Come on,
can't
right.
get down with Akhenaten because he had more than one wife.
Come on now.
All the pharaohs had more than one wife.
Yes, sir.
But you don't turn on the TV and all they talking about, damn, Ramses had more than one wife.
Come on.
They don't say, well, you know, they built the pyramids, but damn, they had more than one wife.
Yeah.
You never read that.
No, sir.
People don't even concern themselves with that.
That's right.
Do that.
No, they
Come
not.
on, we got to put it all on the table today.
Lay it out there.
Now, let's look at what does the Holy Quran say? Because you will say, well, see, Elijah Muhammad was a hypocrite of what he taught. Because he did one thing, right? And he told the brothers to do something else.
That's right.
Right? You may say, well, he's a hypocrite.
That's right.
But what does the Holy Quran say?
That's
Come on
right.
now.
I'm going to
Bring it
read to
on.
you what the Holy
Bring it
Quran
on.
says. Because this book is the best and greatest defense of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's
You
right.
can't even judge him unless you read the book. Y'all with me?
Yes.
Let's go to 33 verse 50.
Bring the light.
33 verse 50. Now, in 33 verse 50, it's talking about the domestic life of the prophet. In the first sentence, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's a long verse. It says, O prophet, we have made lawful to thee thy wives. Y'all got that?
That's right.
Made lawful to thee thy wives.
Very clear.
Then God, in speaking to Muhammad, goes on to say, because the reason I'm bringing this up is because the Christian writers, when they talk about Prophet Muhammad, they say, well, the prophet was allowed 9 wives, right? And the other Muslims at that time were not allowed 9 wives.
That's right.
So the writers against the prophet of 1400 years ago say that that's hypocrisy. That's what they say.
Come on.
But the Holy Quran says, God says, O prophet, we have made lawful to thee thy wives, right?
Yes, sir.
Then he goes on to say, Allah goes on to say, let me read it. If she gives herself to the prophet, if the prophet desires to marry her, Allah says it is especially for thee and not for the believers.
Pretty clear.
Did y'all hear what he said?
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
what
sir.
God said.
That's
It is
right.
especially for thee and not for the believers.
Rewind that.
We know what we have ordained for them concerning their wives
That's right.
and those whom their right hand possess, in order that no blame may be attached to thee.
Oh, watch out.
So Allah told the prophet that what he ordered him to do was especially for him
That's right.
and not for the believers.
Come on now.
So if any brother tells you, well, see, the Holy Quran says we can have 4 wives, so you can be my wife number 2, you tell him to go to hell.
That's right.
You can punch him in his mouth
That's right.
and then tell him to go to hell.
Yes.
That's not what we're talking. Are y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then after you punch him in the mouth, you can say, Brother Abdul said, punch him in the mouth. Now, but let's see.
Yes, sir.
That's what the Holy Quran says. Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
Now, see, you have to ask the question, why would God have Elijah Muhammad to get involved in this type of lifestyle? Why would he do something like that? And it's very emotional. And I want you to be clear. See, Elijah Muhammad was not a lustful man.
That's right.
He was not that. I'm a follower of Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
And I know, based on my own life experience, that he was a righteous and a holy man. I know this without a doubt.
Straight up.
Because I know that when I came to Islam, And I accepted what he taught through the Honorable Louis Farrakhan.
That's right.
I was a high school student, and I went to college. And on my college campus, there were some very beautiful black women. And I wanted to be with them. I really did.
Sure you
But
did.
the thing that prevented me from being with them was what Elijah Muhammad taught and how he made me into a real man.
That's right.
Are y'all following what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
See, we're natural men like anybody else.
Natural.
Elijah Muhammad is a natural man. And see, when he was on the run for 7 years, he could have cheated on his wife.
That's
then.
right.
If that was in his heart to do. He's all over the country, not seeing his wife for 7 years.
Come on.
Now, if you married, right, to a woman, and you're not having relations with your wife, that may be a trial for you, right?
Sure it is.
Now, I don't know if you can last 7 years being married and not being able to be with your wife. And there's other beautiful women out there, right? And they're attracted to you.
It's a hell of a
I don't
time.
know. And then, after being away from your wife 7 years,
That's right.
then you go to jail
That's
for
right.
5 years.
Come on now.
Right?
About that.
Because you're trying to give black people the truth.
That's right.
Right? So now that's 12 years that this man was away from his wife and away from his family, and there is no record of him being other than a righteous
That's
man.
right. Come on.
Oh, praise God.
What's that up?
Of the luxuary, then that should have been the time he should have been involved in that.
Right.
Because he was a young man.
That's right.
He didn't start taking wives until he was 62.
Yes.
He wasn't out in the club at 62. Talking about back that thing up.
Right.
He wasn't doing that.
That's right.
See, it has to be another reason
That's right. Right.
why he was allowed by God to take more than one wife.
Yes, sir.
Because most of us in here, we're young. And the brothers know that when you're young, you know, your sex drive is a little bit strong. Right? But as a young man, he had his sex drive in check. And he teaches us how to do the same thing. So now, see, brothers and sisters, we have to realize that God sees further than what we see. The children of Elijah Muhammad by Sister Clara Muhammad, they're not here helping the Honorable Louis Farrakhan and helping black people right now. They're not doing that. See, they're like the child in your house who grew up in the house so close to the father that they became blinded by the father. You understand what I'm saying? Even though they can't say anything bad that the father has done, right? Anything legitimately bad. See, because you may have got a whooping and you said that was bad, right? But you didn't say what you did to get the whooping. You understand what I'm saying? You may have been talking back to your mama and got smacked dead in the mouth. And you say, that's why I don't like my mama, because she smacked me in my mouth. But you don't talk about how you was talking back, right?
Right.
So now, what I'm saying, there is no legitimate thing that they can say that he did wrong towards them. But because they grew up in his house, they didn't view him like millions of others
right.
viewed him. You understand what I'm saying? Like all your child's friends, they be like, man, your mama is so cool. And they look at their friends like, what? My mama is a lame. What are you talking about?
Right.
My mama make me sick. But the friends see something that you may not see. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So y'all got that.
Yes, sir.
But now, the children by the wives, the other wives of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, those children are here with Minister Farrakhan.
That's right.
Come on.
They're helping him to reach black people. Minister Ishmael is helping him.
That's right.
Minister Rasul is helping
That's
him.
right.
Come on now.
Brother Kamal is helping him.
Yes, sir.
The children of his other wives
Yes, sir.
are helping in the work and the foundation that
That's
the Father
right.
laid.
That's right. Come
All
on.
praise be to Allah. See, Allah is the best knower.
That's right. Sir.
We're not the best knowers.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
All praise is due to Allah. So now, it couldn't be that because Elijah Muhammad had more than one wife, that Malcolm X left the Nation of Islam. That couldn't be it, right? Could it be that he went to Mecca and he saw white Muslims and he realized that Elijah Muhammad had lied to him about Islam? Well, see, some things that we're not told. Because most of us learn about Malcolm X from watching the movie, right?
That's right.
That's how we learn about him. But the movie is not factual.
That's right.
Malcolm X went to Mecca in 1959.
Talk about that.
Well, he went to the Middle East in 1959. And when he went to the Middle East, he saw white Muslims
Listen
there.
now.
Elijah Muhammad sent him as a representative of the Nation of Islam to the Middle East in 1959. He saw white Muslims then, and he didn't say, well, no, Elijah Muhammad must have lied. In fact, he brought back slides and examples of racism in the Middle East, of how the white Arabs mistreated the black people who were Muslims.
Come on now, make
And
it
he
plain.
showed that slideshow at Mosque number 7 in New York.
Come on.
So he couldn't have been under the illusion
That's right.
that there are white Muslims and I ate out of the bowl with them, and that made me realize that there was no racism.
What's going on?
Right.
And then when he came back, why didn't he let white people join the OAAU and the Muslim Mosque Incorporated?
That's right.
If it was all of a sudden a big brotherhood. You understand? See, some of you are under the impression that Malcolm X evolved past what Elijah Muhammad taught. And now he wanted to include everybody. Well then, why is it that Malcolm X had the gun? Y'all with me? You heard the ballad of the bullet, right? Either we get the right to vote, or we're going to go to war with white people. See, in the nation, we don't carry guns.
That's right.
When Malcolm X left the nation, he advocated armed struggle against white people. Right?
Necessary.
Y'all heard that, right?
Yes, sir.
So now, but if he's so inclusive, why is he starting rifle clubs among black people?
Yes, sir.
He scared the hell out of white people. See, white people don't have no problem with you having a gun as long as you shooting each other.
Right.
But as soon as you start shooting them, then all the guns would vanish off the street. All of them.
Yes, sir.
That's the quickest way to get rid of the guns. Have the gangbangers shoot white people, and the guns would disappear. Now I want y'all to be clear.
Yeah.
We don't want you leaving here today shooting anybody.
Right.
Black, white, brown, red, or yellow. We're just making a point that if you were to turn your guns on white people, then you would not have any guns to turn, because they would instantly get them off the street. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, now, I gotta move quickly. There's so much to cover in the assassination of Malcolm X. But I gotta deal quickly with the discrepancies in the movie. Because most of y'all, you didn't read the book. You just watched the movie.
Come on now,
Right? So let's deal with the movie.
That's right.
Now, the first thing you got to know, Malcolm X was not poor. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in the 1950s, when bread was a nickel, when you go grocery shopping, get 10 bags, $5. This man paid Malcolm X a salary of $1,000 every week. Now, I don't want you to put your business out in the street, but most of you in this room are not being paid $1,000 a week, tax-free, right now.
Right.
And it's 2005. We're talking 1955. This man is getting $1,000 a week salary.
They didn't know that.
Come on, I ain't tell you that.
Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Malcolm X, look, you can't move anywhere unless you got $500 in your pocket. You can't even step out the house unless you got $500 in your pocket. Don't move. Not only that, Malcolm X's teeth, before he became a Muslim, they were jacked up like most black folks.
Yes, sir.
Who paid to get his teeth fixed?
Come on now.
Malcolm X, you see, he got straight teeth.
Yeah, you do.
The teeth look good, don't they?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you do.
But that's not the Malcolm X that came in the nation from prison. The brother's grill, he had the chip tooth, you know what I'm saying? He had it all jacked up in there. But who paid to get it fixed so he could represent the Nation of Islam to the world?
Yes.
Elijah Muhammad. If you ever go to Malcolm X College, there's a car that belonged to Malcolm X. Who bought him that car? Malcolm X's car was bought by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He paid the car note, paid the insurance, and he put Malcolm X in what you would consider a mini mansion
Yes, sir.
in New Rochelle, New York, and he paid the mortgage in his house.
Come on.
Are y'all with me?
Come on now.
So, Malcolm X was not hurting for any money while he was representing the Honorable Elijah
That's
Muhammad.
right.
Not at all.
Nice.
Because I wish I got paid $1,000 a week right now. And then had all my other expenses paid for, please.
That's right. That's right.
Didn't have to pay electricity, gas, light, Didn't have to pay none of that. So he wasn't poor. Y'all got that?
Yes, sir.
The movie tries to portray him as poor, right? Now, when Malcolm X was in prison, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote him letters. Some of y'all got family in prison right now, and you've never written them a letter.
That's right.
And that's your family. Here's a man that wrote somebody he didn't even know and sent him money in prison. $5 a letter. Now that's he went to prison in what, 52? Something like that. He came out in 52. He went to prison in 47. Heard about the teachers in 48. Come on, $5 in prison? What do you need $5 for? How long will $5 last you in jail? Come on. Now, in the movie, it shows Malcolm X in prison, and he meets a brother named Brother Bangs, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's a totally fictional person.
Come on now.
There was nobody ever named Brother Bangs. Malcolm X didn't become a Muslim because another convict told him about Islam.
Expose that. That's right.
Malcolm X became a Muslim because his brother Reginald
That's right.
had become a Muslim.
Come on now.
His whole Wilbert and Filbert became Muslims. Ella became a Muslim, right? And they wanted Malcolm to become a Muslim, so they sent Reginald to prison to talk to Malcolm X about the Nation of Islam. First thing he told him, look, if you stop eating pork and smoking, I'm going to tell you how to get out of jail. Notice the first thing he told him was stop eating swine.
Come on now.
Some of you in this room need to stop eating swine.
That's right.
So there was no Brother Bangs. That's a fictional character.
Praise God.
Now, in the movie, while he's in jail, he has this vision of Elijah Muhammad.
Come on now.
Right?
Yes.
Oh.
That never happened.
That's right.
He never had a vision of Elijah Muhammad in jail.
That's right.
He did have a vision,
That's
but
right.
it wasn't of Elijah
How about
Muhammad.
that?
It was a master Pharaoh.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
Come on now.
So now you have all these things in the movie that are not true. The movie doesn't even mention that Malcolm X went to the Middle East in 1959.
That's right.
Doesn't even mention it. Y'all got that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, the movie says in the movie that the wives of Elijah Muhammad filed paternity suits against him. And Malcolm X read it in the newspaper, and that's how he found out about the domestic life of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But that's not how he found out about the domestic life of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. When Wallace Muhammad, the son of Elijah Muhammad, got out of prison in 1963, he invited Malcolm X to his house along with Minister Farrakhan. But Minister Farrakhan didn't go, only Malcolm went. And Wallace Muhammad is the one that told Malcolm X about the wives of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
But Malcolm X was familiar with this book.
That's
Oh, yeah,
right.
he
He
was.
knew about this book.
Yes, sir.
But the thing that hurt Malcolm X is he was in love with a sister named Evelyn.
Uh-oh.
And he was out doing a lot of great work for Elijah Muhammad.
That's right.
But he was in love with Sister Evelyn,
That's right.
but he didn't want any other brother to marry Sister Evelyn.
That's right.
So he sent Sister Evelyn to Chicago to become one of the secretaries of Elijah Muhammad, because he figured, look, if she's in Chicago and she's in the house of the messenger, then no brother can get to her. When I'm finished doing all my work, then I'll marry Sister Evelyn. Y'all got that?
That's right.
Okay.
Now, but what hurt Malcolm X was that he found out that Elijah Muhammad had married Sister Evelyn.
Right.
And that broke his heart because he was in love with her, according to his own words.
That's right.
These are not words that I'm making up.
That's right.
Okay.
These are the words of Malcolm X himself,
That's right.
that he had a relationship with Sister Evelyn, who was in Boston at the time. Y'all got that?
Yes, sir.
But she went to Chicago based on Malcolm X's instructions. So there was a lot of pain in Malcolm's heart.
Yes.
But he knew that Elijah Muhammad wasn't acting outside of the religion of Islam. He knew it and could defend it. Are y'all with me?
Go ahead.
And he even told the minister that he knew it and could defend it, right? So now, but in the movie, it says, well, that these wives had filed paternity suits against Elijah Muhammad, and that's how Malcolm found out. But in reality, when Malcolm X left the nation, see, the wives had no desire to file paternity suits
That's right.
against Elijah Muhammad. But when Malcolm X left the nation, he encouraged them
That's right.
to file paternity suits against Elijah Muhammad. Got the lawyer and everything.
Are y'all with me?
That's right.
So there are a lot of discrepancies
A
with
lot.
the movie that are not necessarily true.
Yes.
Now, and see, the movie doesn't deal with, which is what we're going to deal with, and we're going to wrap it up. The movie doesn't deal with the role of the government
Yes.
in the destruction of not only the Nation of Islam, but every black